Hello, you beautiful beasts. You courageous creatures out there. How are you doing this day? Today's topic is elementary, my dear. I was thinking this morning about how logical, how just innate logic and reasoning can be used regarding the elemental formula for manifestation. There's logic behind it. I was like, oh, that's really logical, actually, when you think about it. It's really actually sound and earthy and just some standard scientific reasoning or Socratic method. Really kind of, if you ruminate on that and question yourself about it makes sense. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the elemental formula for manifestation here on Earth. I had an awareness this past year that it struck me like a chord that just eternally will vibrate this awareness inside of me. And the insight that I had this year was that the elemental formula for manifestation is written in the annals of time in a wide variety of slices of the pie of what it means to be on the earth and be here at Earth School. So astrology has fire, air, water, earth. Tarot has fire, air, water, earth. Feng Shui has fire, air, water, earth. The old religion has fire, air, water, earth. Native tradition has fire, air, water, earth. Metaphysical authors from James Allen to Napoleon Hill to just a wide variety of metaphysical authors. There's so many. Richard Bach. They also are speaking to fire, air, water, earth when they're talking about how to manifest. So let's look at a breakdown of the elements. Fun. So let's start with fire. I'm Sagittarius, Leo moon, cusping, of course, Scorpio and Cancer. So I'm like fire, water. Watch out, everybody. Silly also. Yay, fun. Fire, silly. Goofball. So fire, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Wands elemental from ace to king in the tarot. The fire element, if I were to look at a fire and just observe it and witness it, what does a fire do? It licks into the air. It flings out sparks. It's warming. It can be large. It can burn down an entire forest. It is mesmerizing. It seems to have a lot of charismatic, individuated, creative expression. All of the things that I can do if I sit and stare at a fire and reason with fire are present in our fire elemental astrology signs, the Aries, Leo, Sagittarius of the world. So me, I'm Sagittarius. And that fire is present in the tarot. And the whole suit of the tarot, ace to king, deals with that fire, creative, visionary, active, energizing, passionate, same quality, right? So when we talk about fire elemental, we just reason with fire. We just use our logical reasoning. What does fire do? It's very expressive. It's very lots of creative ways that it expresses. It can be a smoldering ember on a coal. It can be literally something that shoots out into the air. It can be this gaseous expression of our sun. It can be shooting off little sparks. Much like our creative ideas have lots of different expressions down here. So fire, fundamentally, if we're going to deal with a formula for manifestation, it has to deal with creative ideas, new ways of seeing, opening up that. You have a triangle right here, your third eye and your eyeballs. So opening up that trine mind of seeing with a creative eye, a new way, imagining, fantasy and imagining a new way, idealizing that. And so then you have air elemental, which is going to be our beautiful Gemini, Libra, Aquarius thinkers. The air elemental, if you reason with air, what does air do? It just like, it can take papers and leaves and churn them up. It can, a sword, so air, the Gemini Libra Aquarius that we just talked about in the suit of the tarot is going to be swords. And the reason is because a sword clefts through the air. And a sword, like the mind, is double-edged. It can be like a windstorm of papers and leaves, just so many thoughts blowing around in there, so many different, just like thoughts. Just like the wind and the way it stirs things up, the thoughts, the mind is a stirring thing in time. And a sword clefts through the air, and it is double-edged, much like the mind. You can have proper perspective. Everything I've ever experienced has been a perfect, right, whole, and complete gift for me. It's been there to help me to remove my blocks to the awareness of love's presence. I've only been given gifts down here. All of them help me evolve. And then there's the other edge of that sword, which is like everything is hard and difficult and not fun, and the struggle is real. And I was watching a comedian last night that was just joking about how complainy we are in America. He's from China, and he was just talking about it's just like, T-Mobile sucks, AT&T sucks. Oh my gosh, I know. We have all these graces. So in improper perspective, you can complain about everything. Oh my gosh, the stimulus check is only this much, while undocumented immigrants aren't getting any of it as they drive you around, and you complain about the money you're getting. So it's like, my friend Elsa told me about a meme that states that. So it's funny because the mind is double-edged. You can really either hold proper perspective, be gracious and grateful, and understand that challenges are opportunities also to expand. So the mind, thinking, thoughts, new ideas, fiery passion, energy in the mind, thinking, thoughts, coolly, just like in a kind of more cold and detached way, being able to analyze and consider the facts and think about the details and have thoughts on it. Oh, whoa, what about this? What about this? What about this? So that becomes very conversational in the head, becomes conversational out here in the world or air. And so then you have cups. So cups are going to be our lovely Cancer, our lovely Scorpio, which is, I don't know why that was a delay because that's all throughout my chart. Well, that's a Scorpio on this one. Scorpio and Pisces. So our Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, but also cups in the suit of the tarot. So why is water emotion? Why is that reasonable? Well, think about all the forms water takes. Water can be an ice cube. Water can be a still pond. Water can be a babbling brook or a tsunami and a hurricane. It can be a soft little warm water droplets on your skin in the forest. It can be a torrential rainstorm. Water takes so many forms, much like our emotions. And sometimes those feelings are still and relatively banal. Sometimes they're churning and rushing and gushing. Sometimes we feel frozen. There's so many different ways that water can express much like the way we feel. And so you have cups, which hold water, and it represents the ability to hold that emotional component of life, your feeling. And then there is earth, the final element in the formula for manifestation. And in the earth elemental, you actually have the manifest world. So if we think about earth, what does earth do? Earth has seeds that are spread across it by our lovely wind. By our lovely wind, by the way. And as they go into the soil and get planted, they eventually, over time, with exposure to resources like the sun and like water, like that fire, and that with exposure to all the other air elements, like the fire of the sun, the water of the rain, the air that blew the seed, with the exposure of all those elements, that seed eventually can become a fruit-bearing tree or can eventually bloom into its highest expression and manifestation of what that seed or that idea is capable of being, what is encoded within the seed. So then you have, your Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, physical, manifest, earth world, or your pinnacles in the suit of the tarot. So when we look at the elementary, for me, it's the elementary answer to life, my dear Heather, my dear Watson, but for me, dear Heather, the elementary answer for me that I'm constantly trying to remind myself of is, Heather, if there's any point in your life when you don't like the manifestation, You realize that the seed grew a weed, and you go, oh, I had some weird thoughts, and that grew a weed in the garden of my life. Then the logical thing to do, the logical, intelligent, intellectual thing to do is to have a new idea. Okay, I don't want weeds. Let me pull that weed. Okay, I'm just going to forgive myself and allow myself to learn how to become a gardener in my vessel, how to garden in the vessel of me, and what is a new idea I can hold. But if you think about any creation, so we'll use my sewing scissors as an example. Any creation. So here's a set of scissors. They come in their own case, and they have a handle shape that's conducive to my hand going into them. There was a time when scissors didn't exist, or these glasses, or that painting, or this shirt, you know. And in order for any of that to exist, it had to be a fiery idea. Somebody had to have a creative idea of like, ooh, what if we had a thing that like cut and like we didn't have to tear paper? Or like, ooh, what if I could like see? And like, how would I get my eyes to be able to see? Ooh, what if I put something in front of them that they could see through that would help and correct the vision? So you start with an idea, and that's what's so logical and practical about it. Everything in your home started with an idea. Everything in your entire house. Somebody had an idea and was like, what if I made the scissors like this? And so that idea, then they start to think about it. They go, oh, well, it's a sharp blade. Maybe I'll make a case for it. Oh, what if I made the handles different shapes since my hand is made to where one digit's over here and four are here? Maybe that would be more comfortable to hold. Okay, well, where should the pen be? How long should the blade be? How long should the handle be? Well, maybe it should be kind of centrally located and weighted, to assist. So all of those thoughts about this idea called scissors then had to happen in order for anyone to work with scissors. You had to think about it. And as you start to think about creative ideas and you start to work with your creative ideas, you start to have feelings like, oh my gosh, once I get all the resources together and make this thing, I'm not ever going to have to tear paper again. You start to get that feeling. You start to get that excitation. You start to get that jubilation at the manifestation of your creation. Wow, a lot of Asians in there. So then you go get the resources, you go get all the supplies, and then the physical manifestation of that idea has come full circle and now exists in the physical world because you had an idea that you thought about that gave you great feeling and excitation that inspired you to move forward into the manifestation of the physical creation. So that's the logic behind the formula for manifestation. It's very logical. You can actually reason with each element. You can actually reason. It's actually reasonable that if you keep thinking the same thoughts, let's say you think a thought that, I've met people that are like, oh, people are the worst. It's like, okay, good luck making friends. It's an interesting decision you've made there. Just going to judge them all, just throw them all out. Okay, interesting. And I've known people that just implicitly are like, oh my gosh, all people are so great. That's so weird that they hurt me, which is more my speed. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting that was your choices don't align with mine. And that was an emotional learning for me. Fun. So my question today to myself, usually kind of every day, this is a question to myself, but my question to you, my question to me, my question to our tremendous creative capacity is, are there any ideas you're holding, any thoughts you're holding that don't feel good and are leading to an undesired result? Is there a different way you can think about that thing, that person, that place this day? Is there a different way you can think about it? Yeah. Can you have a new idea? What if you could live your dream? What if you could do your favorite job? What if you could have more time? What if you could have more play? What if you could have more money? What if you could have more love and nurturing and compassion? What if you could be around like minds? What if you could find your tribe? What if it was easy all of a sudden? What if you didn't have to struggle so much? What would it feel like if you held that idea, those ideas for 30 days? I always say, be like a scientist and experiment. Don't take my word for it. I hope you have a beautiful day. We have a tarot class starting on Thursday of this week. Go to rarebirdmedicine.com and click on the classes link if that interests you. Blessed be.